Thank you very much, Cindy Beals, for that nice, warm introduction. Doug, did you hear Cindy's introduction?
No, I missed it.
Oh, you did. You missed it. You missed
Sorry.
the mellifluous tones of Cindy Beals Brooks, the voice of Hofstra University. And actually, Doug, I just for the record, I just have to let you know she's that might be her. Is that not her? No. Okay.
No, actually, that's appliance repair.
She's Cindy Brooks, the voice of the best multifamily podcast ever. Is one of my old girlfriends, Doug. I mean,
wow.
Yeah,
well
yeah.
Played, Charlie.
They never leave. They just never leave. I mean, it's dating back to third grade. Cindy Brooks. Yeah, she is. It's a great story. She's a radio personality here in New Hampshire, and I said, hey, Cindy, will you be my lead-in voice? She goes, sure. Tell me what you want me to say. So it's
that's cool.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So, all right. Well, welcome, Douglas, to the
Good to be here.
The best multifamily podcast ever. And let me just, by way of introduction, I'll say this so people on the call will know. I always say that the multifamily business is one of the best businesses to be in because of the people in it. I think the insurance business, when I got started, what a cutthroat racket, backstabbing. Oh, gosh, it was just absolutely miserable. But, Doug, you get into the multifamily and you just meet the nicest people in the world, of which you and Debbie are right up at the top of our book. It's absolutely fantastic. I love working with you.
That's nice to say. You and Kate have been an enormous part of our lives, not even related to multifamily. But, no, I agree with you. Everyone on the forum, they're people that I look forward to meeting one day. Yeah. They're the kind of folks that I'm proud I even get to hang with. So I agree with you.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, what Doug is talking about right now is the Owner Forum, which is the coaching, mentoring group of a multifamily investing academy. And it is, you just become friends with everybody in the group. The last couple of calls that we've had have been just absolutely fantastic.
Spectacular.
Yeah, yeah.
The one on Monday really inspired me. Those guys, they're looking at multifamily in a way that I'm not big enough yet to have to lose a lot of sleep over the things that they're talking about. Wow. What an incredible group of people.
It's so amazing to hear you say that, because by the end of this phone call, people are going to be saying the same thing about you. Right? So yeah, just to let everybody know. So let's kind of dig in here, Doug. Okay. First off, you are full-time in your managing and owning and operating of your multifamily business, correct?
Yes. That's true. Yep.
So what did you do? What was your life before multifamily, and why did you get into it?
My life was, and of course I've got Debbie with me too, so she has a life as well. But my life, I was an IT guy, right? I've been doing software since 1980, 81, back when computers were still driven by punch cards.
Yes.
So,
yep. I was just going to say that.
Yep. And you end up getting in that business to where you end up being just the old guy, So you're the guy that starts lending advice. But towards my last years with a W-2 income, I was doing software quality analysis, which was interesting. I was trying to help the software engineers not make defects. So it was fun work. I was able to work from home. The pay was really right. But at the same time, you knew that I was working for somebody else. I mean, I wasn't independent. Let me tell you, they would monitor my desk. So they could tell if I'd entered any keystrokes through my computer. So it was tough for me to break away. It was just kind of, it was a strange setup. I'll be honest with you. I ended up writing my own script that would send a false signal into the system that keystrokes had been touched. But yeah, it was.
We might need to edit that out. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Put a little Trojan horse in their software.
But during all this, of course, Deb, and we've talked about this quite a bit. Deb was an RN, 25 years as a registered nurse. Wow. She stopped being a registered nurse in 2006, so she could be dedicated full-time to the real estate business.
Wow.
And then we were flipping houses, buying and flipping houses. Of course, in 2008 was when everything went to heck in a handbasket.
Yep.
And, we flipped houses and bought apartments all through that crash. And it was just a blast. I mean, it's not like we made a killing, but we weren't getting in trouble through the purchases we were making. You know me, I'm a super conservative.
Oh my gosh, everybody. Yeah, I have to talk him to the cliff. That's how conservative he is.
Yep. And so, so here's Deb's plugging away at this. We're buying and flipping houses. I'm doing the day job, and we started to believe, and I don't know if it's going to bear out, but I'm not totally convinced that Social Security is there for me, and it shouldn't be. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with thinking the government's going to take care of me. So we begin to believe that we need something that's going to be an income generator, something that's going to, keep us to where we're not eating dog food, and maybe provide a little bit of a legacy for any, descendants that we might have. So that was how it all kind of ended up. We both had JOBs. Deb left hers in 2006, and she's been full-time in real estate since then. I left mine in 2017, I believe, and now I'm able to do this full-time, and it's so much more fun than what I used to do. As much as I love my other job, this is great.
And now let me ask you something, just because, I had Vern Schmidt on the podcast a couple weeks back, and, having Deb as a full-time real estate person gave you some tax benefits.
Yes, it did.
Okay,
it
good.
Absolutely did. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we took full advantage of that. And then, of course, with all the depreciation that you get, we really started looking towards having income property. We did flips, and those made sense, but we started getting to a point where not only were we buying braces and buying cars and paying for college tuition with flips, but we started buying apartments as well. And that was really where the flip money was going.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how we built things. Our very first apartment purchase, actually the first two, the downstroke came from the equity in our house. We'd house hacked for a while. We bought our first house when, I think I was 21. Debbie was 20. We're very young, but we bought a nice house, sold it, made a couple bucks, bought another one, sold it, made a couple bucks. By the time we built this house here, we're out on water, and it's a beautiful place to live. We've been here like 23 years, but we took some equity out of this place and bought a 4-unit. And that was like the beginning. That was in 2003. And that's kind of how it all started for us anyway.
Okay, let's talk about that first one, because
Sure.
I want to, bring me back into your mindset. So there you are, you're sitting around some Sunday morning looking at the morning paper, and you think, hey, let's go out and buy a 4-family. Or what was your thought process getting into it?
We had been actually looking at the Sunday classifieds, because that was the only place you could find property in 2003.
Yep.
In the classified ads in the newspaper.
Yep.
So, and me being an IT guy, I'm big into spreadsheets. And so I had this spreadsheet all built up that would tell whether or not a property would work or not work. And also I was highly inspired by the board game Monopoly, right? So I thought, well, how hard could any of this be? So I was kind of flippant, not knowledgeable about it. Debbie was excited because it was an extension of the work that she was already doing, that her family had been into owning rentals. And so she kept bringing duplexes home for us to look at, duplex deals. And they never worked. They never cash flowed. And then finally,
and you want to know why? One of the reasons why they never cash flow is because of who you're competing against when you're buying it. You're competing against owner operators. I mean,
yes, if we would have wanted to live in it,
it makes great, exactly. But if you're looking for an investment, it just doesn't work.
You're right.
That's the thing is I get a lot of this from students who bring me these deals and the numbers just don't work. I said, yeah, because you're in an area that's being regentrified. The 3-family doesn't work because you're in an area that's being regentrified, and these 3-deckers are becoming condos.
Yes.
And you're having to compete against a developer. And he's looking at this thing entirely differently than you do. He's looking at the big hit at the end of the payday, big payday at the end of the deal, and you're looking at cash flow, two entirely different business models. So that's why we look at properties.
Because exactly what you said, we stopped being comfortable this could ever work. And then she came home one day with a 4-plex. And this was one that her brother had found from, again, a guy whose wife told him she's sick of rental properties. So he had to sell it.
Yeah.
He was working another business. He ran one of those barricade businesses, the ones that sell the little flashing barrels that they put out on the highway.
Yeah.
They're doing construction.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be 20,000 barrels out there. So this guy, his wife wanted him to stay in the barrel business, the road contracting.
You know, it just goes to show you, there are people that make money at everything.
Any way they can. Yep. So we buy this fourplex, and we partner with Deb's brother, because I'm not very good with a hammer. I'm just not. Yeah. And I knew that from long ago, that I never was going to be.
And that's the thing that you and I have in common. Neither one of us are good with hammers. That's why we don't like C-class properties.
Oh no! Yeah, we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there.
By the end of this call, everybody will understand that that's where we end.
Everybody will love C-class properties.
Yes, exactly.
Anyhow, so Deb's brother was there to fix things when they went wrong, and Debbie and I were there to put people in the building, and that's how we got our start with that 4-unit. Yeah. So, if you fast forward, okay, so now Debbie's bringing home bigger deals, because she's finding that the larger the number of units, the way better chance that the thing's going to cash flow, it's going to be worth it. And so we started looking for bigger deals. And when we ran across a 16-unit up in Lansing, we're driving down a street, and there's a little boy and a little girl. They're selling lemonade. It just looked like a Norman Rockwell painting. They're selling lemonade on Alpha Street. And we just thought, this has to be an omen. And sure enough, like another 300 feet south of that is, 2 8-unit buildings. They're all 1-bedrooms. We were looking for 1-bedroom units at the time, because the word was that kids destroy multifamily properties, right? So,
by the way, did you check to see whether those kids had a permit for that lemonade stand?
Well, you know what? I did turn them in, and I was able to watch them being escorted away.
Man after my own heart, Doug.
Anyway. So we saw this building. We put a cold call on this building. We went to the courthouse to figure out who owned the building, and I cold called the owner. And he was furious. He's like, "Who are you? Why are you calling me?" I'm like, "I'm nobody. I'm Doug Benson. I'm just was interested in buying your apartment." He has since become an attorney of mine. He's a personal friend of mine.
Isn't that wild?
Together. Isn't that wild? Boy, that first day was a tough conversation.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep. And the guy who was my broker, the guy who was my broker for that deal ended up being another attorney friend of mine that we've been doing business together since that day. So we ended up buying that 16-unit. Again, took equity out on our house, because back then you were at 90% loan to value. So you could get into a $500,000 property for 50 grand down and go from there. So that's how we got into 16 units. And since then, we've just been kind of adding them on as smaller multiples. I'm not a big building purchaser.
Yet.
A couple of 12s, a 17, a 20. We're looking at a 55-unit right now. That would be the biggest building we've purchased, but we're trying to put that together. But as a segue, they're all Class C. And I think
but hold on. Listen, we gotta explain to people that you are doing it. In my opinion, I love the way you're building your business. I think it is so Norman Rockwell-ish, if I'm going to use another expression, because what you're doing is you're staying in your own backyard.
Right.
One time when you went far afield, you ended up killing it, thinking like, that's just not me. That's not who I am. And so
we did.
And here's one of the benefits to staying in your own backyard, and you're a living proof of it. You know exactly what type of rent and income you can get off a property, and you know exactly what it costs to run a property in that market by unit. So that when you walk up to a property and can determine the price, you know right away what that price is worth.
Right. Yeah. So long. You're right, Charlie. So long as we stay in the local market, I feel like Debbie and I have real deadly accurate estimates about costs and income and who we think might choose or not choose to live in the neighborhood. That's been our biggest value, I believe, is that, yes, I will admit we buy C properties, but we buy them in neighborhoods that are not scary. They're not intimidating neighborhoods. They're neighborhoods that I'm comfortable. I joke about the Esker daughter rule. I'm comfortable letting any of my babies spend the night or live in one of these buildings, that they're going to be okay the next day when they wake up. They're going to be okay walking from their car to the door. They're going to be okay, being outside in the middle of the night. Because I have to market these buildings to other folks that have to be comfortable. Yes, I'm okay spending the night here. So the stuff we buy, it's always very rough. It's usually terribly managed. Normally, it hasn't had a dime of CapEx put into it. So we always know when we're buying a building, we are going to be writing big checks for probably a year, year and a half to get it up to a standard. And I believe the interiors of our buildings, we can compete. I don't want to say with anybody because we're not yet putting in granite tops in the kitchen, right, that kind of stuff. But we do in the bathrooms. We tile the floors with ceramic tile in the bathrooms. It's all new cabinets, counters, paint, floors, doors. So our units look beautiful.
Now hold on, let's talk about that for a second because yes, you've shown me the video. I've seen the video of the walk around in your units. We're going to talk about how you market your units also.
Okay. Yep.
But one of the things that you do is that when you buy a property, you are going to rehab, depending on what it takes, rehab every single unit so that yes, everything in it is new. So therefore, essentially, your building is a new building. And your repairs and maintenance budget is very low, almost like right, comparable to an A-class property because there's nothing to fix. You've already fixed it all. And
right. My largest maintenance bills last year were for snow plowing and lawn mowing.
Isn't that amazing? And what you're doing here is you're making your life a hell of a lot easier as a maintenance, as a owner operator. You may still get the phone calls in the middle of the night for the toilets and stuff, but not as much as you would if you hadn't spent the CapEx on that unit.
You're exactly right. Plus another thing too, we've been very active recently using buildings. We've been leveraging our buildings, pulling out equity to make other purchases, other buildings, and the banks have a very nice opinion when they look at our stuff. They're very comfortable that we know what we're doing. Our buildings look really attractive to them. Yeah. In fact, more than once, I've given not only the commercial loan officer, I've given the president of the bank will come to tour my buildings. Yeah. And that's a nice signal to me. That just kind of makes me feel very comfortable that we're doing it right.
Doug, you're building a beautiful multifamily real estate investment business.
Yes, I believe it.
Because that's what you leave to your kids is not the properties, but the business to run the properties. Yep.
No, you're exactly right. We have recently introduced, I probably was not the best filter for tenants. I have had too big a heart. I'd put the wrong people in the buildings. In the last year and a half to 2 years, we're also now very good at vetting people. Yeah. It's just surprising. On the first of the month, I'm only at 81 units. I'm not very big, but by the first of the month, I have 45% of my rents already paid.
And by the 5th, what do you have?
Electronically too. I mean, that's another thing too. We have a payment portal. So when you up your caliber of tenants, now you're talking about people that have bank accounts, they're comfortable doing online payments.
They can get the utilities put on in their own name.
Exactly. There's just no issues. So it is coming together really nicely now. Yep.
That's fantastic. Now let's go back to the rehab for 1 second before we move on. When you look at a unit for the first time, then you own the building, you're looking at that unit for the first time. Give me the checklist of all the things that you are going to do to that unit before you make it rent ready.
Yeah, the things that we are going to do is it's that building materials. It's doors, floors, light fixtures, water fixtures, countertops, cabinets, paint. It's sort of every surface.
But what about I heard you mention before, I think this is, people have to understand how granular you get. Yeah. The trim. The trim.
Yeah, yep.
You yank out the trim.
We are looking now, in fact, we've got a make your heart cry story about trim. We are trying to upgrade our trim to where it doesn't look like normal colonial base trim. And so it's beautiful trim. It's like 6 inches tall. It has a very decorative top to it. Again, it's like putting crown molding in a room. Crown molding isn't a terribly difficult thing to do, but the minute you have crown molding up where the wall meets the ceiling, suddenly you look like you're in a classy joint, right? Problem is our stores and our contractors aren't keeping up with us. So when we say we need 250 feet of trim, oops a daisy. They order what they've been buying, and we got this old. Anyway, it's a long story about how you're
still going down to the Norman Rockwell hardware store, pal.
Yeah, I know it. I think we are. I think that's exactly what's happening. But yeah, we want to see all that stuff. We've got a guy right now who's rehanging bifold doors that we did probably 2 or 3 years ago, but we didn't trim them nice. you know, the first guy that hung them didn't leave them looking as beautiful. So I've got a second guy now. He's retrimming bifold doors that we hung 2 or 3 years ago, just so it sends a message that you're in a nice place. You know, you're in a decent, nice place.
Isn't that
We're
great?
going to put some brand new exterior on one of our big buildings with brand new entrance doors. So again, so the building sends this message of, because it's tough to convince people, if you go inside, you'll really love it, right? Because they're driving by every day and they sort of see this maybe not so gorgeous building. So we're doing exteriors now. We're making everything nice just so the story sells. And so far it has.
Okay. Now let's talk about, you know, when you take over first, let's get back to one of the ways. This is for those listening again. You know, I had an owner forum call with Doug and with Bob Bryanton, another member of the owner forum. And the interesting thing was, you know, here are these two very successful multifamily owners who fund and finance their deals differently, entirely differently. So Doug, let's talk about how you handle you know, the way you buy your new properties, the last couple properties you purchased, as far as the debt and the equity go.
Yes. For instance, we were turned on to this 20-unit building that we'd been looking at for quite a while. It was the same week that Debbie and I had scheduled to go down south to look at some properties down in South Carolina. Yeah. As we're on the highway headed south, we get the phone call like, look, your offer was accepted. So we spent the whole week down in South Carolina in our motel room doing due diligence for this 20-unit building back up here in Lansing. But the only reason so we're buying this 20-unit building. We're using our own money, you know, from selling houses and stuff as the downstroke so we can buy the building. And then probably 5 months later, up comes a building that Debbie and I have been looking at for 30 years. You know, that it became available to purchase. It was in the old neighborhood that we bought our very first house in. Really nice neighborhood, real sweetheart neighborhood in Lansing. And there's a 17-unit came available. So all my money is in this 20-unit. I needed some help. So I put the word out and I had 2 guys show up and they provided all the downstroke money. The bank provided the mortgage. So I kind of did a little Carlton Sheets deal. You know, we bought the building. I didn't have a dime into it. We set up an agreement to pay off these 2 debt guys. We paid them off in 2 years, and now, you know, that building it's the most successful one that we have, actually. It's not the most profitable, but I've got a line of people trying to get into this building. But that was a really fun way to buy. Okay. And since our buildings are small, we're all the time working with local banks. And they're kind of okay that we've got a track record. They'll let us do something a little bit maybe off the edge of normal, you know, in terms of having other people fund the down payment and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
now the thing is, so you brought these 2 guys were just a second mortgage. They gave you a second mortgage.
Yes.
On the property. So you did first and second. Banks were okay with that.
Yes. Yep.
You know, did they record their debt on the property? Was there first and second, or did the first bank say no, we don't want you putting a second behind our?
The bank we didn't record it as a second. We had a promissory note ready to go. We had mortgages with these guys. They didn't record them. They just were in existence. The bank knew of their existence. And like I said, in 2 years, you know, we made those guys go away. We paid them off, paid all the debt off, and they scooted. You know, we're making monthly payments to them every month for 24 months, and then a lump sum at the end of the 2 years.
And how are you funding the rehab?
The rehab was cash flow.
Okay.
In fact, we've done all our rehab using cash flow, with the exception of this building that we're looking at right now. This building that we're looking at right now, we're going to take equity out of our other buildings to provide not only the down payment, but the rehab.
Okay.
That's a lot less expensive over the long haul, and you can get it done a lot quicker. I mean, Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what the point I want to really make here is that, you know, you say you own 84 units, like, and that you think that's small, but you have no partners.
Right.
You own all 84 units.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't say, well, yeah. I mean,
okay.
You listen to some of these guys who'd say, oh, I got 1,600 units. No, what they have is like 5% of a membership interest in a bigger
That's fair. Yeah, that is fair.
You know, you got to really look at it that way. You know, so you like, you know, those guys have bosses. You really don't have a boss.
Right.
Like Debbie. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I got Debbie, right? Yeah. So, but that's okay. I mean, It's okay to have well, forget it. We're going to go down a bad path. But yeah. Yeah. I get things from her that I've never been able to do with any of my other bosses. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. That's cool. All right.
Cool.
So this deal, your deals are now kind of like I keep saying is, your first deal, you had Debbie out there looking for deals. She's looking in the newspaper, her brother brings a deal. Now these deals seem to be kind of dropping in your lap a little bit.
Yeah, and again, it's the network, it's people knowing that this is what your business is. It's people that,
people knowing you can perform.
Exactly. And I guess I am old school, Charlie. I'm probably, see, in my world growing up, my parents thought the most honorable thing you could be would be to be an attorney or to be a banker, right? I mean, in the Benson family, that was the pinnacle. So that's not still all washed away out of me. I'm very happy, to be honest with you, that the banks will call me up to see if we got anything going on that they can help with. That's a nice place to be. I like that. So I like that reputation, and I think it gets us quick, easy phone call type funding, to where we left a bank because another bank was offering us very great terms. The bank that we left got a new commercial loan officer. He's going through our portfolio from 4 years ago, and he said, geez, for the life of me, I can't believe we ever let you go. Do you got anything going on? I'd love you to come back and do business with us. So that was nice. I mean, I know that's not necessary today in these days, but it's just, it works for where we're at right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because when that next deal comes along and you need to pull the trigger fast because it's a great deal, those guys are going to be there for you.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
That's how you build a business.
Yep, I think so.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, I've got to ask the tough questions, the ugly questions. Otherwise this podcast would not do justice to the business.
Sure.
Doug, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I probably would have got a little bit smarter before I purchased the 16-unit building.
That was the one after the 4 units.
Yes.
Okay.
The 4-unit gave me the chops to where the lending people thought I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, Debbie and I, we looked at a 16-unit building. We looked at 1 unit.
Oh, wow.
All right. So we looked at 1 unit. We didn't recognize what the marketplace was all about, because honestly, that was the first big building that I recall that we looked at. So when we see units that are troubled and in bad shape with kind of not so great people in it, the wrong alarms, there were no alarms that went off. I think it was me being too excited to grow in multifamily. We just weren't savvy enough. So we might have moved too quick on that building.
Let me just give people an example. You're talking about you went into 1 unit, because people on this call have never had to go through a due diligence process before. Essentially what Doug did here was he was purchasing 16 units at maybe, let's say, $25,000 per unit. That's like going down and buying 15 cars without giving any one of them a test drive.
Right.
Would you ever do that? Would you buy 1 car without giving it a test drive? No. That's why you have to go in every single unit, because you're dropping $25,000 per unit. That's a lot of money.
Absolutely. I mean, that's another problem too. When it's 90% loan to value, it's pretty easy to show up and make a mistake with other people's money, right? Yeah. I think a part of that was how easy it was to buy this place. The lending institution couldn't wait to lend me the money. The seller couldn't wait to sell the building. I couldn't wait to buy the building. It was all in place for me to move too quick. And that's another thing too, Charlie. I move too quick anyway. I know that. I'm not real great at pumping my own brakes. So I tend to, ready, shoot, aim kind of guy.
Yeah.
And Deb and I talk about, if we could have done it over again, it would have been either to offer less than what we did for Alpha, because this was in 2005 and prices were really driving up. I mean, we paid a good amount for that building. You said 25. I don't mind telling you, we paid 27 a door for that building.
Yeah.
And they were all ones. They're all 1-bedrooms.
Yeah.
But the beauty now is Alpha it's a beautiful building. We're starting to redo the cabinets and the floors in that building, we're going with that wood simulated vinyl for floors, you know, vinyl plank, brand new cabinets. We're hanging microwaves over the stove, you know, new paint, new doors, new lights. It's just, it looks so nice. And we're getting what I believe is a really good rent for the units. And I don't know, it's a great place now. It's super easy to rent. And again, it's in kind of a soft, gentle neighborhood. There's like maybe, you know, 3 churches. You just don't have a lot of gang activity when you got 3 churches for neighbors.
So what you're saying is you're now rehabbing that property because you didn't have the money back then to do it.
Well, we did some light rehab, but we didn't tear out the kitchens. Now we're comfortable. Now we're just gutting the kitchens, all brand new kitchens, that kind of stuff. So we're doing a heavier rehab now on the turn, and the building just looks great. It just looks great.
And a lot of this has to do with the fact that your strategy has always been to buy and hold. Yes, so you're rehabbing these kitchens, really, Doug, for your girls.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So they don't have to deal with it someday.
Well, and you know, I'm also, be honest with you, I'm doing it for people down the road. But for me, when I go to market these buildings, people can't believe what they see when they walk in and they see it. It's a brand new, I mean, it's new floors. We always put in new windows in our building the minute that we buy the building. Yeah. So all our buildings come with new windows, which alone makes it just seem nicer, right? Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you're familiar with those aluminum bad window frames that don't lock, no screens, and, you know.
Yeah, they come with a chiller boiler.
Exactly. So, you know, so you got the new windows, the new floors, new doors, new paint, new cabinets, new counters, a new microwave, typically a new stove and fridge, and they just can't believe it. And my rents are not crazy. There's a lot of Class A stuff that's going up in Lansing now, like there is across the nation. Yeah. There's a place that was, you know, and I'm not going to name names, but they built these beautiful apartments in the outfield of one of the minor league ball club stadiums. Okay. And they're gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. But from October till March, there's nothing going on there. I mean, you're not sitting out on your back deck like at Wrigley Field watching a ball game. You're staring at an empty stadium. And so I was talking to a guy who lived there, and he said, for the life of me, he said, it was pretty the $1,500 a month, it seemed pretty exciting because he signed his lease in like May, you know. So he got the summer months to watch, you know, he's out on his back deck and back porch high in the air. He's watching over the ballpark. He says, but man, he says, those fall and winter months, he said, I'm wondering what in the heck am I paying $1,500 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment? And I couldn't agree with
Doug, I say that about Michigan anyway.
There you go.
Between October and May, like the lake effect, gray.
You got to be a local to love it. But the point is that we can compete. Our interiors can compete against the higher end units. Certainly not the luxury units, you know, with the granite and all that, the concrete countertops. But when people see what we have, they really can't believe that it's available. Again, we're all in really gentle neighborhoods. Our buildings tend to be the only apartment in the neighborhood. Yeah. Usually it's surrounded by mom and pop houses. And boy, that just really helps with marketing. It's really easy to market these places.
Let's talk about marketing. How do you do it? Because you know, listen, we're talking about a business, and nothing happens in this business until a lease is sold. So you know, let me ask you this. How many leases do you need to sell right now to be fully occupied on all your properties?
5. You
have 5 products available for people.
Yes, and I'm going to sign. 3 of them are going to go today and tomorrow. So I'm down to 2.
Gosh, that's 2 out of 84. That's phenomenal.
Well, but here's what's up though. The reason we had 5 is because we shut them down to renovate them. I mean, you know, they needed to be down because we're doing some heavy turns here. So yeah, I think those are accurate numbers. The way we do our marketing is I have a website that's a landing spot. On my website is my application. I also have video and photographs of every building. We have and my daughter Cassandra, she's into real estate, and she takes beautiful pictures. So we have filled up our website with her photographs, with an application, and all our marketing drives people to the website. What I do is I use a tool that's called RentLinks. And RentLinks is just kind of a propagator of data. I fill up RentLinks with the story of each individual building, and RentLinks sends it downstream. It goes to Apartments for Rent. It goes, apartments.com, Zillow, all those places where multifamily potential tenants are hanging out looking for places to live. So I'm trying to get as much information about Esker Properties in front of the people where they live, right? And so that's what we do. They see our ads, they click on the link. They can, if they want, they can fill out an application right then. I've had people do that, or they can give me a call to talk about it. But I don't do anything other than that. I get probably every single day, I get 8 to 11 inquiries every single day about our properties. I follow up with every inquiry. I have a template email. Thanks so much for your inquiry. Yes, indeed, we do have a vacancy at Ellen Avenue Apartments. We tell them, here's our qualifications. It's sort of that filtering letter, that says I need 3 times the rent. You can't have a bad criminal background. You got to have good rental history, and you cannot be a smoker. We are huge no smoking in our buildings. And that pays off nicely, because then you attract people that are also huge not smoking people. And that's a different crowd. It really is a different crowd in their behavior patterns. Anyway, before I get all into the psychology of it, in that email is a link to our website. Their inquiries tend to have a phone number that comes with them too. I also send a text message. I have a template. I send a text message to every single inquiry. Thank you for your inquiry. Here's our qualifications to get in. Please go to our website and take a look. And then I'm done with my marketing. My marketing expenses in terms of writing checks are probably about $513 a year.
A year, yeah. It's amazing.
It's just for access to the rent links. That's probably 85% of it.
It's amazing how much you can rent these units for practically a zero marketing budget.
Yes.
I use the rule of thumb when I'm teaching: $25 to $100 a month per unit per year for the marketing budget. That's dependent upon. And listen, these are. I'm afraid to update these numbers because that's what you should be looking at. But in this business, the marketing expenses should be pretty darn close to zero.
You're right.
There are so many free places to go to market your units.
Zillow has a beautiful tool for marketing. They let you upload pictures and video, and it looks very professional.
Yep.
So that's how I get the word out. We don't, I used to put signs in front of the buildings. I don't do that anymore. We used to put flyers up at the supermarket and where people work. We don't do that anymore. We don't do anything other than the online presence and word of mouth. Yep.
And then there were 45% of the people that are able to pay their rent online.
Right.
I mean, that's just you don't have to. Yeah, that's what a great way to run a business.
Mechanically, it's a low flow.
So Doug, you and I are going to be sitting in a pub in Ireland running our businesses because we set it up the right way.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. When I'm sleeping or when I'm goofing off or when I'm doing whatever, hanging out with my grandchildren, my business is churning dollars. It's getting new people. I'm always out there. The presence is always there, and I don't have to do anything about it. So keep that going anyway. So
all right. Now the last thing I want to talk about before I ask you the final question is, you are your own property manager.
Yes.
And that's pretty much always been the way it is.
Yeah, it is. Now, when I say I'm my own property manager, I'm where the phone calls come to. But trust me, I'm dialing 1-800 heater guy, HVAC guy, plumber.
Absolutely. But you're the manager of all of that.
And I'm the manager of it. Yep.
And now, what do you think?
We're going to reach a point here really quick, Charlie. Again, if this next building deal goes through, and you and Kate and I will talk more about this, hopefully, where we are going to have some employees, some dedicated resources. We're going to have to crack open a property management company, just to stay a little bit focused.
Yep.
I'll tell you, this last year or 2 years, not the winter that just happened, but a year before then, we paid $23,000 in snow removal, and that was an eye-opener.
Wait a minute. I did. Let me see. When my Michigan properties, $27,000 over 3 years. Yeah,
Okay.
and Doug, I finally said, this is killing my budget. This is terrible. And so what we did was I went out and bought a Blazer, a Ford Blazer. I think that's what it was. I think they got it from the evidence room of the Toledo police department because they found dead bodies in it. That's what it stunk like. And we put a plow on the front and we put a sander on the back. And I had my own plower and sander.
There you go.
The 3 years later, never snowed once.
Yeah, well, though, if it does, you're set up correctly to handle it. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the weakness in my business now is I do subcontract out more than I think I'm going to need to. So we're going to have some employees, some people that can mow the lawn, some people that can plow the snow.
Yep.
We need, like anybody else, I need cleaning people, I need maintenance, I need paint, all that kind of stuff. So
yep.
That is going to be the growth of what we do. And then I'm going to go in Michigan, you have to have a broker's license in order to do property management for other people.
For other people, exactly.
Yeah, right. And so maybe I grow that because that's a fun side of it. So we'll see.
When you're going to be at 140 units. And man, you're a business. You're a big business now, Doug. No, think about it. If you started doing the numbers of what the value of your assets, your net worth, and and the cash flow. I mean, you're a good sized business now.
Yeah, could
and
be.
It started with a 4-unit.
Yes, it did.
And a loan off your house.
Yes, equity loan off our house. You know what? So we take the equity loan. The bank still didn't trust us. They put a lien on all our cars. And, I don't know if you know me, Charlie. My cars are always beaters. So, we had a little, some kind of Saturn that my daughter owned, a couple old Honda Civics. I think Deb was driving a Cutlass Supreme or something.
Oh, my God.
These cars had a net value of probably about $280 all in. And, the bank came and they put a lien on every single car.
Oh, my God.
Guys. So yeah, that was funny.
They did that just to show you who's boss.
Who was boss? Yeah. Yes. And to their credit, they lost me as a customer. Probably 9 months later, we refied out of them, made them go away, made the liens go away.
Deservedly so.
But I can't blame them. I mean, honestly, we didn't know. We just didn't know. We again, here's where Doug probably might have got us in trouble. We just moved so fast. But how much pain can you honestly get in with 4 units? I mean, you can mess up 4 units and still survive it.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when a couple months after we bought the building, one of the tenants said, "Okay, I'm gonna move now." And I remember her looking at her like, "Wait a minute, you came with a building." Like, it didn't even occur to me that tenants might leave. And Charlie, oh God, I was. So I'm arguing with her. You can't go.
This is Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
But I think if anyone can take some inspiration, just know that nobody's going to be dumber than I was when we started. It's impossible. It's impossible.
All right. Last question.
Yes.
What advice would you give somebody just starting out?
Well, I was going to say don't hesitate, but maybe you should hesitate. I guess don't be intimidated. I will tell you this, Charlie. If you're in the owner's forum and you listen to some of these 400 unit, 500 unit deals that are being taken down, that can make you think that maybe you'll never get there. And so this sounds, just start. Do something. Do a duplex. Do a quad. Get your chops. Again, we did a 4-plex, and when we went to 16, everyone was comfortable that we touched on everything there is to touch on for an income property. We knew leases, we knew court issues, we knew tenants' rights, we knew all the mechanics that you need to in order to have some savvy place in this business. So just get something and get started.
And the thing is, that stuff that you're just talking about seems intimidating when you're just starting out. Like you need to know so much. But the fact of the matter is, Doug, right now, it's as my mother would say, it's baby poop stuff for you.
It is.
It's easy. There's nothing to it. I mean, just do it. Just do it.
Just know that your core business won't be going to court. You know, your core business won't be that you've got a boiler's going to explode. You know, I mean, that's everybody's fears are like everything going wrong on the same day. It doesn't. At least it hasn't for me. So your core business is getting the best possible people that you can to live in your places. So now you've got to figure out, what does that take?
Yep.
And are you buying in a place where the best possible people would ever want to live?
Yep.
And so if you can sort of add that up, then you're going to be fine.
Yep.
Then they'll be wanting to give you money every month. And that's the beautiful. I mean, it's Christmas 13 times a year. I just, it's very exciting when the first comes around.
Yeah.
I don't know, for all the reasons I wanted to get in, they all happen. You know,
exactly. Just what they told you was going to happen.
Yes.
Yep. It's like I say, that this business has been around since Jesus was knee high to a grasshopper. So what was Mary and Joseph before they were the parents of the Savior? They were tenants.
Right.
They had to rent a room at the inn.
That's right.
This business has been around forever. You don't need to know. You don't need a master's degree or anything. Just get out there. I love it. It's this best business in the world to be in. Absolutely.
It is. And here's one other thing too that has nothing to do with money. We have had the city thank us for what we've done to some of their buildings that just through poor management, the building was in an awful state of repair. And we really resurrected a building. The former mayor of Lansing, he was going to walk with me and his lieutenant guy, and they're going to take videos of me and him so they could show, here's what happens when private industry works with public and we make the city of Lansing a better place. That all fell through because then a casino got on his mind and he got really excited about that. But my point was, we do make the city a better place. We are making the community a better place to live, and I'm proud of that as well. I just don't know that anyone other than investors are going to be able to help turn some of our cities around to help make them more appealing and more attractive. And so that I'm proud of. I think the city's better because we've been there, and we'll continue to do that. That's important.
Awesome. Bravo, Douglas. Bravo. You and Debbie. Excellent. Thank you so much for being a guest on the best multifamily podcast ever. Doug, you're a good friend, and I love hearing your story all the time because I knew you when, Doug.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I knew you when.
You knew me when. Thank you, Charlie. Thanks for having
Doug. Say hi to Debbie for me.
I sure will. You say hi.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.